Okay, so I was talking to a media CEO the other day,
Okay.
and he was talking about how even if these big legal battles against big tech,
Yeah.
they go our way,
Mm.
he's worried that the news industry might be a little bit out of practice when it comes to innovation.
Right.
Can you believe that?
Oh, absolutely.
It kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking about, what happens when the news industry wins the battle but isn't really ready to seize the future?
It's a valid concern.
Right.
There's a difference between getting your foot in the door
Mm-hmm.
and then knowing how to build the entire house.
Right.
You know what I mean? This isn't just about taking down giants.
Yeah.
It's about what happens after.
After the dust settles.
It's about a complete industry rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes ambition and creativity we haven't seen in decades.
Absolutely. And that's exactly why I wanted to revisit this speech by media tech entrepreneur Ricky Sutton.
Okay.
This is a speech called Moonshot, and he gave it back in 2020.
Okay.
But honestly, it's like he was looking into a crystal ball,
Well, 2020 was a pivotal year.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, the news industry was starting to really feel the pressure of big tech's dominance, and, Sutton wasn't afraid to call it out.
Oh, he called it out.
But he didn't just point fingers.
Right.
He offered a path forward.
Yeah, and a pretty bold one at that.
Oh, yeah.
He used the 1960s space race as an analogy for what the news industry needed to do.
Oh.
Kennedy's whole, we choose to go to the moon speech.
Hmm.
That level of ambition, the global collaboration, the sheer amount of innovation it took. Sutton saw that as a blueprint, which I love.
I love that analogy.
Right.
Because what's so brilliant about it is how it connects to the challenges and opportunities facing news today.
Right.
Think about it. Back then, putting a man on the moon seemed impossible.
Yeah.
To
It was unfathomable.
Unfathomable, exactly.
Yeah.
Yet with a shared vision and a whole lot of grit, they achieved the unthinkable.
Yeah.
Sutton argued that the news industry needs that same audacious spirit to navigate the post-big tech world.
Okay, so you're saying we need a moonshot moment for news.
We do.
But what does that actually look like? Where do we even begin?
Well, Sutton believed video was the key. He predicted a massive shift in how we consume news, with video eventually becoming the dominant way we experience stories.
Interesting.
And he wasn't just talking about cute cat videos going viral.
Yeah.
He meant high-quality,
Right.
in-depth video journalism.
So he saw this coming back in 2020.
Back in 2020.
We're talking about a time when most news outlets were still figuring out how to embed a YouTube link without breaking their website.
Exactly.
Right.
But Sutton was looking ahead,
Okay.
and he broke the shift down into 3 very distinct phases.
Okay. So let's break down these phases because this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
It might make you rethink how you get your news.
Yeah.
Sutton said that right now in 2024, we're kind of in this transitional phase 1,
Okay.
where it's videos are sprinkled into articles like a little extra something, something, something.
Right.
But in phase 2, which he predicted is just around the corner,
Okay.
video is going to be in practically every article you read.
Wow.
Imagine that. News with its own built-in illustrations.
Yeah.
Almost like those fancy pop-up books we had as kids.
Right.
You open it up and
Exactly.
it comes to life.
And here's the kicker.
Okay.
Sutton believed that within a decade we'll be in phase 3,
Well, okay.
where video isn't just an add-on, it's the main event.
What?
It'll be the primary way news is delivered and consumed.
Wow. So instead of scrolling through headlines and clicking on articles, we'll be swiping through a feed of video news stories.
It's entirely possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big shift, though. I can imagine some news junkies out there might be like, whoa, hold on, I like to read.
Right.
What were his thoughts on why this change is, inevitable?
Well, I mean, think about it.
Okay.
Just how we consume information these days, right?
Yeah.
We're just bombarded with content all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And our attention spans
Yeah, they're sure.
are not what they used to be.
Let's be honest.
Video is just more engaging,
Yeah.
more digestible, and let's be honest, sometimes it's just more entertaining.
It is more entertaining.
Yeah,
He's not wrong.
right.
A picture is worth 1,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
But a video,
Right.
that's got to be worth a whole news site at this
Right.
point, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so let's say you're a publisher
Okay.
and you're hearing this back in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
You know big tech is a problem, but now you're also supposed to become the next, Spielberg.
Right.
Were newsrooms really equipped to make that leap?
That was a major concern of Sutton's.
Right.
He knew that the traditional news industry, often reliant on, print advertising and kind of struggling to adapt to the whole digital age, might stumble at this like really critical moment.
Right.
He saw how desperately they needed a life raft,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the whole big tech duopoly looming large.
Right. Everyone was so focused on Facebook and Google gobbling up all those advertising dollars.
Exactly.
It felt like the walls were closing in.
The walls were closing in, exactly.
Yeah.
But Sutton saw a silver lining.
Right.
He argued that the potential breakup of these tech giants presented a golden opportunity for the news industry.
Okay.
Not just to reclaim lost ad revenue, but to fundamentally reinvent themselves.
How interesting.
He was convinced that, clinging to outdated models like display advertising or even subscription only, that wasn't going to cut it.
So he wasn't a fan of those paywalls that some publications put up.
Let's just say he was skeptical. He believed those models were too limiting,
Okay.
too reliant on a small segment of, dedicated readers.
Mm-hmm.
Sutton argued that the real opportunity, the sustainable solution, lay in embracing video,
Okay.
not just as a storytelling tool, but as a business model.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more.
Okay.
How did he propose news organizations actually make money from video?
So Sutton was a big believer in something called contextual video advertising.
Okay.
And if that sounds complicated, don't worry. It's actually quite simple. Imagine you're reading an article about, say, I don't know, the latest electric car.
Okay.
With contextual video advertising, you might see a short, relevant ad from a car company, right?
Okay.
Right there within the article.
Got it.
The key is that the ad is seamlessly integrated into your reading experience,
Okay.
making it less intrusive and more engaging than, say, a random pop-up ad.
Right. It's like when you're watching a cooking show and they seamlessly weave in an ad for, like, it's a specific brand of olive oil.
Right.
It makes sense in the context of what you're watching.
Precisely. And this is where Sutton's entrepreneurial spirit really kicks in.
Okay.
He didn't just talk about these ideas.
Right.
He built a solution.
And that solution was his company, Uvu.
Right.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay.
Sutton realized that publishers often struggled to produce enough video content. Right.
To keep up with this demand, while broadcasters were sitting on mountains of unused video footage.
Interesting.
Uvu was his answer.
Okay.
A way to bridge that gap.
Okay, before we dive into Uvu, because I know we're both dying to unpack that a bit more,
Yes.
I just have to pause for a second.
Okay.
What's so striking to me is that Sutton had this incredible foresight.
He did.
He saw the potential of video, the urgency of the situation, and he actually did something about it.
He did,
A
absolutely.
lot of us just talk about it, but he was like, no, I'm going to make this happen.
Absolutely. And what's even more remarkable is that he did it all while facing considerable skepticism.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Not everyone bought into his vision back then, but Sutton,
He was never one to shy away from a challenge.
he sounds like a real trailblazer.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's talk Uvu.
Let's do it.
What makes it so special?
Yeah.
What problem does it solve?
Yeah.
And how does it actually work?
So imagine this, you're a news publisher, right?
Okay.
You've got this fantastic article about the latest climate change research,
Okay.
but you don't have the resources to send a whole film crew to Antarctica to get some original video footage.
Which, let's be real, most newsrooms don't these days.
Exactly.
Budgets are tight.
Right.
Yeah.
But with Uvu,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have to.
Okay.
Their AI platform scans your article, analyzes the content,
Okay.
and automatically finds relevant video clips from a massive library of content from broadcasters around the world. So you could have a stunning drone shot of melting glaciers from a BBC documentary
Wow.
right there in your article, instantly making it more visually appealing and engaging for your readers.
It's like magic, but with algorithms.
Right.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
And I'm guessing this is where the contextual advertising comes in.
you got it.
Okay.
Because now imagine you're an electric car company
Okay.
and you want to reach an audience that's interested in climate change and sustainability.
Right.
Uvu can place your ad
Okay.
within those articles about climate change,
Got it.
ensuring that your message reaches the right people at the right time.
Okay.
It's a win-win-win
Yeah.
for publishers, advertisers, and most importantly for viewers like you
Right.
who get a richer, more informative news experience.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But it also sounds pretty utopian.
Okay.
Like, are news organizations actually embracing this?
Right.
Is it really the game changer that Sutton believed it could be?
Yeah. Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
Sutton was adamant that the time to act is now.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
urged publishers to not wait
Right.
for the perfect moment for the dust to settle after the big tech shakeup, because by then it might be too late.
He sounds like he was a real force of nature.
He was.
Yeah. I'm starting to wish I had heard this moonshot speech back in 2020.
That's a good one.
What would you say was his most important takeaway?
Oh, that's a good question.
For anyone listening to this deep dive today,
Yeah.
what do they really need to, take away from this?
You know, I think it's this. We tend to think of the future of news as something that's being decided for us by these big tech companies or these media conglomerates, But Sutton's message was empowering.
Okay.
He believed that the future of news is in our hands.
Okay.
The journalists, the publishers, and yes, even the readers and the viewers.
So what can we do
Well,
besides, starting our own AI-powered
yeah,
video platform?
right besides that.
Yeah.
We need to be engaged citizens.
Okay.
Support quality journalism by subscribing to publications that align with your values.
Okay.
Share important stories on social media, and don't be afraid to hold news organizations accountable when they fall short.
It's about being informed,
Yeah.
being discerning, and being vocal. And maybe, just maybe, channeling a little bit of that moonshot spirit ourselves.
I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe some of our listeners will be inspired to create the next big thing in news.
Now, wouldn't that be something?
It sure would.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Until next time,
Yeah.
keep asking those tough questions and never stop exploring.
And remember, the future of news isn't just something to be read or watched. It's something we create together.